What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm sorry, Nate. What is going on here with this special guest? If you didn't miss Joe Adell last time, we got Cal Ripken Jr. on. Legitimately, this is Cal. Had to throw that out. I didn't know if he was going to stick around, so we had to. I wanted to get it on, but man, welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host, Jared Timms, joined along with Nate Green, coming off a fantastic episode with Angels outfielder Joe Adell. It was extremely exciting to talk with him. Go watch it. Go listen to it if you have not already. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere that anywhere that podcasts can be found. You can probably find that. So a lot of fun talking with him. A lot of good baseball background there. Had an absolute blast. But no guest tonight besides Cal Ripken, who is no longer here.
The dog.
The dog. How you doing?
You gotta make sure that that's clarified. We don't want people to be like,
the name of the podcast is joined by Cal Ripken.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
How you doing?
It's good. Good day. Excited. Off season time. This is the one time that I can be excited. So.
Whoa! Come on!
I'll be excited when Ron's got this team over 500 in July.
Well, that being said, Angels introduced Ron Washington today. Are you ready to run through a wall for Ron Washington?
Yeah, I sent that. Of course you tweeted it.
I was the first one to say it. Don't even. I saw everybody and their parents, everybody and their moms out there tweeting it on YouTube, on Twitter today, and I was the first one to say it. So don't even. Of course, I was the first one. Of course, I said it when the Angels hired him. So don't give me that. Yeah, I said it. I saw everybody tweeting it. Gonna call out Taylor Blake Ward. He said it too.
Yeah,
he did. So, but
no. But seriously, I'm excited for him. Yeah. Just to hear him, and I mean, you always knew he was a baseball guy. He loved the game. He works incredibly hard, and he loves his guys, and now you can really see like what it is that makes him so successful everywhere he's been. Whether that be in Texas, Atlanta, even Oakland back in the day, like dude's just been successful everywhere, and it's really cool to hear how excited he is to be a manager one more time. And some people were wondering if this was going to be even a thing, because he's in his 70s. Was he like, what, I'm good? But he said it. He's a leader and he wants to lead, and I'm super excited to see what he can do with this team.
I think in today's age of baseball, and I think we forget a lot about baseball. Is that weird to say, to think about? That like nobody thinks about baseball anymore the way that baseball.
The other people, sure. I would say that's why I continue to have the Angels winning 76, 78. That's because I remember the baseball. But no, I really like what Ron talked about in his interviews. Obviously, the goal always is to run the West and to win World Series and things like that. Every team in Major League Baseball is going to go into their clubhouse in the first day of spring training and say, our goal is to win our division and win a World Series. Whether that's the Oakland A's, who are may or may not be trying.
I was going to call you out on that one. Say the Oakland A's are going to come into next year saying
I guarantee you Mark Kotze is going to go in there and be like, fellas, like you're fighting for a job right now, and let's go shock the world. Our job is to go win a World Series. If you want to have a job next year, play good and help us win a World Series. I mean, even the Cubs, who were I think it was Rossi's second. It might have been last year or it was this year. I don't remember. But the Cubs weren't big playoff favorites, and Rossi sits in there and goes, "Hey, like our job is to win the division, and our job is to go win a World Series." And like he got everyone fired up, and it was really, really good. So I could see Ron being that type of guy to really inspire a room. Couple things. He's gonna love his guys. He's gonna fight for his guys, and his guys are gonna be really, really prepared. And I think that's one thing that you and I have been really frustrated with over the last couple of years, is it feels like the Angels aren't prepared. You look at, I continue to go back to 2 years ago when Phil Nevin was the manager and the Mariners came into town. You and I were at the game, and it was the merry-go-round in that 8th inning, I believe. And I just continue to go back to the game and think like how unprepared the Angels were to play defense. Like, you are the defensive guy. Phil Nevin came in as third base coach and defensive guy, and how unprepared they were defensively. It was unbelievable. And you see what Ron Washington talks about, we're going to teach every single day. We are going to teach these young guys. These young guys are coming through the system really, really quickly. They're not really being taught a lot because it's more of like, hey, just go play. And, oh, now you're in the big leagues, 2 months later. Oh, now you're in the big leagues. Maybe 6 months after being drafted, 8 months after being drafted, like Neto and Shanuel. Ohapi was with the Angels for, Joyce. Yeah. Ohapi was with the Angels for a month before he got called up. Like, these kids are being rushed through the system because that's what the Angels need right now. They need guys in the big leagues that are going to produce, and they're not really being taught things. And to hear Ron go, hey, we're going to teach these guys how to play the game correctly. Like, that's something that really excites me because I think that's a big problem right now. Guys don't know how to play the game, and it shows because there are little things like blooper down the line, trying to make the throw to third when the guy's safe easily instead of throwing it to second, keeping the double play in order.
Simple,
little baseball. Things like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the stuff that I think that the Angels are going to be exceptionally better at this year just because of Ron and his attention to detail, his love for the game, things like that. So I'm really, really excited for what Wash is going to do with this club and to see. I think the thing I'm most excited about is to see these young guys take that next step. Like Zach Neto, everyone's already saying like, oh, go bet on him to win a Gold Glove next year. Like, that's what everyone's saying. It's like, I'm just super excited to see him take that next step. Like, we saw Sandoval take that next step 2 years ago and he went 2 steps forward, 1 step back last year. Detmers kind of did the same thing where it was like 1 step back, 1 step forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward. But like, that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see some of these young guys take that next step forward of like, now I'm a major leaguer, not just like I made the major leagues, but now I'm a major leaguer, like a guy who's going to stick in the big leagues and be an everyday guy, not just I got my cup of coffee, I was up and down. Like, it was fun.
Baseball, man. Baseball. The Angels have missed out on playing baseball and just regular baseball, like you said. Mike Scioscia style baseball. The old way of playing baseball. I know that's not the way that baseball is played anymore, and you can play it different ways, but I think that this is what the Angels have been trying to build, is what they've done and what they did in 2002. And that's what Artie wants. And I think that
I just play devil's advocate to what you just said about the game not being played that way? I mean, look at what the Arizona Diamondbacks did. How did the Arizona Diamondbacks get to the World Series this year? They created chaos. They played defense.
The Dodgers.
Tampa doesn't do it.
The Dodgers don't do it. Those teams that are consistently very good teams, except for the Astros, who tend to be a very good team. I don't know, man. I'll let you play devil's advocate.
Look at what Arizona did this year. When they were in the postseason and even early on in the year, it was all about creating chaos, right? Like, they had Corbin Carroll, who would get on base and steal. They had Alek Thomas, who would get on base and steal. Like, they had Moreno, who was just like young and dumb and just let me hit the baseball and get a guy in. They had Evan Longoria, who understood like, hey, let me just get the guy to third base with less than 2 outs. Let me drive in a run from second base. They had the Christian Walkers who were going up there trying to hit tanks and things like that, but they just created chaos. And the other thing they did was they played defense. The 2 top teams in Major League Baseball when it comes to fielding percentage were the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Both those 2 teams ended up in the World Series. You play defense, you pitch, it's gonna get you where you want to be. That's what the Angels did not do last year. The Angels were one of the worst defensive teams in baseball. And I know with Wash coming back in as a manager for his first stint with the Angels, like, I know he's going to make sure the Angels are a good defensive team. We might not be great in year one. We might not be the top team, but I think the Angels are going to definitely be in that top 10, not in the bottom 10.
I know the name that really sticks out to me when it comes to guys that could really improve from Ron Washington and staff coming in. And
you mean beside the guy we just talked to last show?
Joe Adell would be, yes, Joe Adell would be 1A. 1B would be Luis Renifo. What?
Yeah.
Right. Like that's such an interesting name to me. And it's kind of a good segue into what I'd like to talk about next. And that is actually, I guess, some rumors, some baseball news, some Angels news. Angels, and if the trend of Perry early and often, by the way, continues, then these two names make a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense for what the Angels and Perry Minasian and staff did last year. And that's the Angels are linked to Tim Anderson and Jeimer Candelario early on here in this offseason. Now, one name I'm extremely interested in, one name I'm not so much. And I think you're with me because we've talked about this off the air. And that would be one being that I'm extremely interested in Tim Anderson on a 1-year deal, unless you can swing him to multi-year deal for
if relatively you get 2-year deal, maybe
if you can get him for multi-years and relatively inexpensive, I'm excited. Now Candelario, I'd prefer not to see that. That's a very Tyler Anderson-esque move. And not in the fact that like Tyler Anderson
it is
bad, but like the fact that you're coming off a career year, maybe back-to-back career years. And Tim Anderson has had a lot of success in the past. Not a great baseball player, but a good baseball player. You've rattled off the numbers. I think he had 4 straight 300 batting average seasons, whatever you want to take from that. Not a big power guy. Not a great
15. He was like 13 to 15, which is pretty good.
You know what his stats are and what you hope for out of this, and I don't know if it's going to change your mind, but his stats for, when he was pretty good with the Chicago White Sox reminds me a lot of what you hope for out of Nolan Schanuel, a 300 hitter that hits 15 to 20 home runs. Now, I know you're not excited about that, and we don't need to get into the prospect side of stuff, but that's what you hope for out of Nolan Schanuel. And if you can somehow find a way to get Tim Anderson back to where he was, or even a quarter to where he was, 270, 280 hitter with, 15 home runs at second base, and, being able to play shortstop in a pinch if Zach Neto goes down or somebody like that. And you're really not losing much. I'm not upset about that. Now, Candelario is a bigger risk. He's going to want more money per year, and he's going to want to, want more years than Tim Anderson. I think Tim Anderson is going to want to prove himself and get a big deal. So I'm intrigued with Tim Anderson. Jeimer Candelario, not as much. I'll let you talk about those two though.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things with Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson, the nice thing is we had some Zach Neto injuries last year. He had the back injury. It would be nice to have a competent shortstop, a guy who you could put there and be like, hey, this guy can play there every day for a month or two, and it's fine.
Devil's advocate, Luis Renifo, David Fletcher, go ahead.
Yeah, those guys can't play there every day for a month or two. Those guys aren't good enough defensively. It's not even close. And if you look at the numbers, people will be like, oh, Tim Anderson was a -2 guy last year, which is a league average shortstop. And Luis Renifo and David Fletcher playing there would not be league average. So that's one thing. Next thing, table setter. The Angels need a leadoff hitter. They need a guy. And I know you love to point out Nolan Schanuel. Look at David Fletcher's first couple of years. He was the same guy as Nolan Schanuel his first couple of years. And then the Houston Astros came along and said, hey, how about you just put a guy in short right field and say, beat me? And guess what? They never got beat because David Fletcher couldn't beat him that way. So all it takes is one stupid team to just be like, hey, we're going to play Nolan Schanuel this way. Beat me. Like, we're just going to play super, super shallow. We're going to play straight up and super shallow. We're going to play him oppo in the air, or oppo in left and pull in center and right. And we're just going to let him hit it. Now he's a 260 hitter with no pop. That's not a leadoff hitter. He has no speed. Like, he doesn't fit the mold of a leadoff hitter. Yes, he walks. Yes, he gets on base. Perfect 6 guy. Perfect guy to hit in the 6 hole.
Stay focused. We're talking about Tim Anderson here, not David Fletcher.
I wasn't even talking about David Fletcher. It was Nolan Schanuel. But Tim Anderson, leadoff hitter, can really get things going. He can steal some bases. when he's right and healthy, he's going to get on base. He'll play a good second base. We saw him do it in the WBC. He's going to have professional at-bats. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of swag and a little bit of flair. The Angels don't really have that. It'd be nice to have someone with a little bit of swag and a little bit of flair.
We talked about this before, by the way. I'd love to see the Angels be the most hated team in baseball again.
Why not? I mean, so with Tim and Tim Anderson, like we talked about, 4 straight years over 300, 4 straight years of, I believe it was 13 home runs or more, except for 2020. You take that year out, I believe he had 8. But yeah, so I'm really intrigued with Tim Anderson. I think he makes a lot of sense. I think he would play way better defense than Luis Rengifo, and everyone's going to say, well, Luis Rengifo was a Gold Glove finalist, like as a utility guy, because they had nobody else to put in there. So yeah, I'm super excited with Tim Anderson. I don't know if he's going to be there, but I think it makes sense. Like, this is one of those that makes sense. Candelario, to me, I understand the move, but it doesn't make sense. I don't know if you're tracking me on this. He's had an OPS over 800 twice in his career, once in 2020 and this year at 807. So not an overly offensive guy, not a big power hitter, not a big walk guy as well. So he's more of just like the normal Angel guy where it's like, well, he's going to hit 15, 20 homers, not really get on base as much as you would like him to, not really hit with as much power as you would like him to. A little bit of flexibility. He's played first in the past. He's played third in the past. So I understand that Perry's probably sick and tired of watching Anthony Rendon play 15 games a year. And he wants to have a contingency plan of, hey, if Anthony Rendon can't play 100 games, who's going to play 62 games at third? Like, if Anthony Rendon can't even play 30 games, who's going to play the 132 games at third base? So it makes sense to me. But I don't think Jeimer Candelario is better than Brandon Drury. I think Brandon Drury could do exactly what Jeimer Candelario can at third base and offensively. You already have him on the team. He makes less money than Candelario, and maybe Candelario will play a little bit better defense. But offensively, like, they're the same player. I think I'd rather have Brandon Drury the way he played last year for the Angels, and I'm not a big Brandon Drury guy. So the Candelario thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's just me. I'm more in on Tim Anderson because of the athleticism, because of the opportunity he has to lead off for this team. The Angels need a guy to get on base in front of Mike Trout. They do. And it'd be nice to have a guy who can steal some bases, get on base in front of Mike Trout, get to second base. And now there's a runner on second, nobody out, and Mike Trout's up. And you have to decide, are you going to pitch to Mike, or are you going to put him on and have first and second, nobody out? And now you can really create some chaos, right? So that's what the Angels are looking for, in my opinion. I think that's why they've checked in on Tim Anderson, but we'll see.
Yeah, and to your point here, Candelario was a 260 hitter last year with 250 hitter last year with 22 home runs, a 117 WRC plus, and a 3.3 Fangraphs WAR. Brandon Drury, 260 hitter, 26 home runs, 114 WRC plus, 2.5 Fangraphs WAR. Very similar players. Not upset if you can figure out a way for Jeimer Candelario, and I'm definitely saying his name wrong because I suck at names. But if you can find a way for him to be that 3-win, almost 4-win player that he was last year and was in 2021, then I'm not upset with spending $15 million on him. I would rather see Tim Anderson on a 1-year deal and see if he can return back to his form, which is a 3-win player, for probably $5 million less. So, and you get a little more flexibility, I think, with Tim Anderson over Brandon Drury, or over.
And I did just look it up. Drury and Candelario. Drury's worst year is a -4 defensive run save. Candelario last year was a -5 defensive run saved at third. So
very similar
players. Both those are at third base.
Which this is what the Angels have been lacking, though, is this type of depth for when guys to go down. And I know that you can't rely on Anthony Rendon by any means, but this is the depth that good teams have is players like this. I'm just
saying,
do you
want to be paying Candelario $15 million to be a guy who's going to play 4 days a week, though?
Oh no, 100%. I agree with that. It's the whole bullpen conversation that we've had before in the past too, where like, do you really want to spend on Ryan Tepera, Carlos Estevez, Aaron Loup, those type of guys, or do you want to spend a little less? I know bullpen. We're talking bullpen and guys that are going to play 130 games or something along.
Well, and you don't even know Candelario would play 130 games. It would probably be closer to like 100 games, maybe 80 to 100 games. Is if Rendon is healthy, right? Like if Anthony Rendon's healthy, he's playing hopefully 125 games at third base.
And I'd rather have Brandon Drury at that and Tim Anderson playing second base or Brandon Drury and Luis Rengifo taking that side of things. Over spending 15 mil. So yeah, I agree. I'm not upset either way you go if the Angels do decide to go this way. Early and often is always the theme with the Angels, seems to be. Especially with Perry Minasian and staff. Would rather see Tim Anderson. Would love to know what the fans on YouTube think. So go ahead and drop that in the comments down below.
I do think it's going to be a harder year to be early and often, though, with so many guys that you're waiting to fall. Like, I know typically you're waiting for one or two big hitters to fall, but this year you have Yamamoto, who's going to get posted here. You got to wait on him because he's the big boy, right?
Well, you look at the infield market, though. You're not waiting on anybody in the infield market. Like if you're talking about JD Drew or Teoscar Hernandez, and you're like, well, we're outfielders / like could be DH guys. Where's Shohei Ohtani going to go? And that's going to dictate our market. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying is like Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto are both going to dictate a lot of markets because Yamamoto is going to get paid. Like he's not going to be a guy who's going to make $15-20 million. He's going to make 30, probably 25-30 mil.
Yep.
And so he's going to get paid. So everyone else, if you're trying to attack an Aaron Nola, if you're trying to attack a Blake Snell, like those guys might be like, hey, we want to see what Yamamoto gets. We want to see what Ohtani gets. And then maybe we can fit ourselves maybe right underneath that or right above that, depending on where they end up. And same thing with like a Candelario. Like, I think he's kind of going to wait for a job where it's like, well, maybe there's a team out there that's trying to get a Shohei Ohtani, and it's like, well, if we don't get Ohtani, then we attack it this way, and we go get Candelario, we go get Teoscar Hernandez, and we go get Rhys Hoskins or something like that. And so some of these guys, I think, are really going to have to wait for the big boys. But it sounds like when we talked to TBW, Taylor Blake Ward, a couple of weeks ago, his guess was Ohtani signs before the winter meetings, and you're starting to hear those rumblings of Ohtani possibly signing before those winter meetings. So maybe TBW's on something.
We'll see. Don't give him that much credit, man. Don't do that. Come on, now I'm gonna get a phone call from him, and he's gonna be like, no. So, hey, all right.
I gotta get him on the good side.
I'm all with world famous Taylor Blake Ward. So, any final thoughts before we let everybody go? Run through a wall, baby. Run through a wall.
Run through a wall. I'm really curious to see what happens Friday. Friday, you're going to see a lot of non-tender candidates all come out. You've already seen Cal Quantrill get DFA'd, which I thought was crazy because he probably felt like a non-tender candidate, not a DFA candidate, which is basically going to be the same thing. But it allows other teams to pick him up for $6-7 million, which could limit some trade market things like that as well. So be looking for something in the next couple of days. Who knows if the Angels are in on it? They did just add Jack Kohanowicz to the 40-man, which was pretty obvious. They got some spots. I believe it's one spot left, but they're gonna have to make some moves because I don't think you can have Max Stassi and Matt Thaiss on this roster at the same time with Logan O'Hoppe. So they're gonna have to make a couple of moves. They're gonna have to do some things, and then obviously with the free agents, you're going to have to make some moves too. So this is going to be a interesting couple of weeks. Hopefully things start to pick up a little bit.
Absolutely. So with all that being said, guys, go ahead and follow us on all our social medias. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube or wherever you are listening to us. Follow myself on X at Jared_Tims, Nate at NateGreen34. Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Have a great rest of your day.